Hello and welcome to Turn Looks, a beauty and cosmetics podcast. I am your host, Darren, and welcome to another episode. This week we have the amazing Nancè Chel on, who is an MUA and content creator, and we have a really amazing chat about using social media to showcase your makeup artistry, how you go about that, and the ever-changing algorithms and trying to keep up with trends. So let's get right into this chat. There, thank you for joining. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Monday, but we'll get through it, I guess. How did you get into like becoming like content creator, like beauty content creator?
Oh, good question. I always have to think back. I always knew I wanted to create content. I kind of like started around, I want to say 2016, but I don't know, memory. But I remember being on TikTok when it was all like the weird sounds and like everyone was doing like barking challenges and stuff like that. So yeah, I was kind of on TikTok back then, but I didn't know what I wanted to create. I didn't know what like content I wanted to do. So I kind of like messed around. I did like, oh, it's embarrassing now, but I did like a mukbang page, and then I did like a relationship. I just tried everything. I wanted to express myself, and yeah, I always kept coming back to makeup. Like I just love it so much. I love like the opposite to what I'm doing today. I love like all the creative stuff, like completely changing my face and stuff like that. So yeah, after I did that, it kind of people liked it, and I was like, I like it too. So I just kept going afterwards.
I remember when TikTok was called Musically, like back
Oh yeah.
back when
I
like, it
wasn't
was
on
just
it
lip
back
syncing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wasn't on it. It's funny because it's not really changed that much, has it? There's loads of lip sync.
Yeah, yeah. That yeah. I remember like I used to like this was like 10 years ago, it was like did like YouTube. I was very much inspired
Yeah,
by like the likes like Zoella. So a lot of my like YouTube stuff was like more like
yeah,
lifestyle stuff. So I feel you in
yeah.
that kind of when you was like first starting out like 10-ish years ago, trying to figure out like
Mm.
what is it I want to do because there was so much different stuff out there, and a lot of it wasn't more like
Yeah.
lifestyle-y. I don't feel like there was as
Mhm.
strong as categories as there are now. Like now it's
Yeah,
like you're like a mukbanger or you're like content creator, or like back in the day everyone
yeah,
was just you're just vlogging and that was kind of it.
yeah, yeah. And oh my God, I remember watching like one of my first makeup tutorials. Don't know who it was from, but after I watched her tutorial, I was like, I'm gonna become a YouTuber. I was like, no, I have to do YouTube makeup. Like, I have to be a YouTuber on doing makeup.
Do you have a preference on platforms? Like, do you prefer Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube? Because I know you do them all. So
That's a good question. Oh, I don't know. I would say I have a top three. My top three are Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat.
Snapchat,
Yeah. Oh,
interesting.
Snapchat's an underdog.
Uh,
It's a little underdog.
is that for like getting content out there as well, kind of thing, or is it?
I do, yeah. So in terms of like, because there's not a lot of creators on there. Well, I would say like a year ago, 2 years ago, there wasn't a lot of creators on there. So like actually uploading like their TikTok content, whatever. So it was easier to get your content out there. You'd get quite a lot of views. I think it still is today. Like there is still a lot, and they do quite well with like paying creators as well. So surprising from like Instagram, who will like you have to get invited to get paid and stuff like that, which I just think is a bit crazy. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
definitely enough.
Instagram's very feels like very tight to list kind of platform.
Yeah, yeah. It's very strange because I don't even want to go down there.
But it's interesting Snapchat. Like I would think Snapchat was just obviously back in the day, it was just like you let's send a picture messaging kind of thing, but
Yeah,
like actually like a place where you can get paid and you actually get like the views and stuff out
yeah,
there. Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
It's really good. Like I know like the bigger creators now, they do a program where you get paid for stories, which is quite cool. So they pay for stories. And their like actual criteria is not insane, like not insanely high to reach, which I think they've done that because they do know like of course you still have to get like a million views in like a day to get paid for spotlights and things like that. But in terms of like actually getting there, they do make it quite easy, I guess.
Oh, nice. Do you find your audience is quite different across the different platforms as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you can go on TikTok. To be honest, I don't, some people say like TikTok comments are ruthless, but I always find them like quite fine, like the regular. And then you go on Snapchat, it's okay. You go on Instagram and everyone hates you. Like so it just depends. on the mood, I guess.
I was going down like your Instagram like just before this and looking at some people's comments. Like I think a lot of times as well, people I'm giving them a benefit of the doubt here, but a lot of people I feel
Yeah,
like sometimes don't realize they're being really rude. And then you read their comments and you're
yeah,
like, that is really rude, but I can understand someone maybe writing that thinking that they weren't being as shady when they wrote it. Or do you know what I mean? You're just like, also
yeah.
just think about what you're writing.
I don't, it's easier to just type stuff. Like I have never been a person that comments on videos. Like I love liking, I love like following, but I'll never like comment unless it's like I've found a video and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I would never just like sit down and be like, I hate this. Or like sometimes it's warranted. Like I do know like some people just have not been exposed to certain things. So of course you're not gonna wanna like you're not going to react in the way that you want. But yeah, and of course some content like I do want them to comment, like I do not mind the comments. So it's just a balance, isn't it? Sometimes you just do not read those comments.
And I think it's also a lot of times, like, even the hateful comments, it's like those people are still giving you engagements. Like TikTok and
100%.
Instagram see it as see it as someone commenting. They don't see it as a negative comment. They just see it as a comment. So you're still winning in that sense anyway.
Yeah, yeah. What do they say? All engagement's good engagement. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, not for your mental health, but maybe for the video.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it like? Like, I feel like you post so much. Like, you're like, I was like going back down. I was like, there's like been so many videos, and you just posted like within a week and stuff. What is it like having to like constantly be like posting and stuff?
Okay, at first it did kind of start off with like, oh, I'm gonna post once a day, see how that goes. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do one video. And I end up doing like 12 or like 6 or 7 or 8. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to get this out. And then like tomorrow, say tomorrow I do another makeup look. I've got all that content like there. So I'm kind of just like, it's not easy, 100%. Like I do acknowledge like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, 4 posts or 5 posts, that's insane. But I do think it's done a lot to kind of help me grow as well because I feel like the more people see my face, it's like exposure, it's good exposure. But yeah, it's definitely a lot, but I just enjoy it. Sometimes I'm so excited to get a video out. So I'm just like, oh, what are they gonna think of this? What are they gonna think of that? But yeah, it is insane. I did have this conversation with my partner the other day and he was like, post so much. I'm like, I know. Uh,
I don't think it's a bad thing to post a lot though. Like,
mm,
I think a lot of platforms like prefer that if you the more you post the better because it means you're on
yeah.
you're on the platform more, you're creating more
Mhm.
content for them. So I think a lot of times they like it. I just like I'm just like, how do you have the time and the energy to post? Because all your videos you're always like full of energy or they're always also creative. I'm just like, how have you got the time to do that? I do like one video and that's like me done for like 2 weeks. I'm like, nah, energy's gone.
No, but your videos are so like informative and like I love your videos. What do I want to say? Like I think they're so informative and I'm always like, oh, I didn't see that. Because I'm usually like I love doing like comparison videos and like just whatever I see, whatever comes to my head. But I feel like sometimes I do want to look at like into the fashion side and into the like other side of makeup, but I always don't have the chance. So I just think your content's really amazing because it does give you that chance to be like, oh, this is different. Like I've not seen this before. But yeah, I do think my videos it's a lot of planning that goes into it. But I feel like every time I sit down, I can't do one video. I'm kind of like, oh, don't waste. I used to do like Instagram pictures, like a fashion content creator, and I'd always do my makeup, and then I'd take like one picture and I'd be like, oh, that's a waste of makeup. You've got to do a lot of content. So you're like not like having to do it again and again. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my processing.
No, I feel that that's one of the reasons why I don't create a lot of like doing like tutorial videos or the kind of almost the content you
Mm,
do because I'm like I sit there I'm like oh my God like I'm wasting so much makeup by like just doing it and it's to take it off again but
yeah,
obviously there's a different
yeah,
mindset like I think probably like you have more is actually like it's
mhm,
not a waste because I'm filming it I'm using that in that
yeah.
video so that's not a
Mhm,
waste kind of thing.
mhm.
um what is it like keeping up with all the trends though? Because I feel like there's constantly new trends, especially in the makeup world. And then you do
Yeah.
quite a good job of constantly like of doing testing them out, trying them, or doing the different hacks. Like that's the place I kind of go to see what the new trends are. Is because like you're always posting
Oh,
them stuff.
um, thank you. I at first, oh, it was very overwhelming because I do feel like, especially when you're trying to look at every platform to kind of see what they have to offer, it's overwhelming. But I feel like once you know like where to go to, because for me, my kind of go-to is like TikTok and Instagram. TikTok, basically, that's where the trends come from. It's not really anywhere else. I wouldn't say like YouTube generating original like trends because they're really not. But in terms of like their shorts platform, it's quite new. So, and I am part of their like recently their creator shorts program thing. So they do send like stuff through that, but it's still like you can tell like they've got a bit of way to go before they're like creating trends. So in terms of like trends, it's mostly TikTok and yeah, I do try and stay on top of them. Sometimes I miss stuff. Sometimes I don't want to do certain stuff because I don't want to waste like or having to buy stuff. That's where my line is. I'm like, if I have to go out and buy loads, I'm like, no. Or if I can tell it's an ad, I'm kind of like, no. But if I know that, oh, this is really a really cool eyeliner hack that I know like I struggle to do eyeliner and this might help someone, oh, it's just silly. I would be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna try that.
That's good to know that like you're not always also like going out and buying new products to do all these hacks and stuff. Because
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the time, a lot of the new trends, especially in beauty, it's either
Mhm.
like you said, they're clearly an ad, like when it was like the strawberry girl makeup that was coming out from I can't remember who it was. It
Yeah.
was like Hailey Bieber. She kind of
Yeah.
started that trend then to sell her new blushes or whatever that
Yeah.
she's coming out with.
Mhm.
And or there's like a stupid hack that's come out and everyone's like, okay, I need to buy these five products to be able to do this hack. Like it's good to know
Yeah.
that you're not falling into that kind of consumerism and that kind of like
Mm.
wastefulness of having to you're using what you've got to kind of make those trends and stuff work for you almost.
Yeah. And I'm one of them people that like have had makeup that is definitely expired. Like I hate like look at people like, oh, that's expired, throw it away. I'm like, but I love it so much. Um, and yeah, sometimes I just buying new makeup is so expensive nowadays as well. So yeah, I do try and use what I have and why you don't need to buy new makeup to create the trends. You can use what you have most of the time. So.
I also think, especially that expired makeup thing, I feel like there was a time, especially a lot of content creators were like, so this has got a 12 like month expiry thing on it. So after 12 months, I throw it away. And I'm like, if it's a powder, as long as the formula hasn't changed, there's no mold
Yeah.
growing on it. There are certain
Mhm.
products you can keep using until like it's visibly gone off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like things like I guess like mascara, yeah, like 3 months you don't need to put in something on your eyes that could end up like
Of course,
really.
yeah.
But
Hmm.
like a lot of things, you're like, unless it smells funny or it's like gone off or it's
Yeah, the smell.
changed, yeah, then keep using it. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. You'll know by that smell. Oh, that smell.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself doing like a makeup hack or trend and just think to yourself, why the hell am I doing this?
Of course. Always. And but that's the fun in it. Sometimes I'm like, why? Who thought of this? And that's what the creative side, like I don't know if you know, of course you know her, I can't remember her name, but she's like bald and got all the tattoos and they're like symmetrical.
Yes, I can't think of her name, but yeah.
She does like the most creative stuff and I'm always like how do you even think of that, like that is insane. And then I try and do it and I'm like what is that, like what did I just do? But yeah, I just it's just fun to do sometimes it and it gives me a break sometimes because I cannot just switch off my brain and then do something absolutely silly. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like doing like a cut crease with a spoon or freckles with a fork and stuff. And I'm just like, the way people come up with those things, I'm like, and then like, yes, they do work, but I'm just like,
Yeah,
is it actually making anything easier to do?
I don't know. Well, I just think when I was like 14 or like 13 and I didn't have makeup because I was the girl that used to steal my sister's makeup. Like I was not buying no makeup, unless it was Primark if I was lucky. Doing like that sort of stuff with the fork or blah, blah blah. I feel like it would have been helpful back then because actually did not have the makeup to be able to do it. But yeah, I guess.
When did you actually start getting into makeup then?
Oh, I'm so bad with dates, but I do think it was like early, when I was like in high school, I was like maybe in year 7, and I used to do like the thickest eyeliner with my mum's like under eye. Like it was so bad. It was so thick. And I'd do like 3 dots and then like bright pink lipstick. And I thought I ate. I did not. I did not look good. But yeah, that was back in like my I don't want to say emo phase, but that was like when I was on. I used to have my hair slicked back all the way, like the biggest swoop. Yeah, that's when I think I started.
It's giving like a very like Avril Lavigne kind of vibes, like that kind of like sceney,
Yeah,
punky, yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I don't even want to. The pictures are just so bad.
Have you done much content online? Like, I know I saw like on YouTube, you done one video of like recreating some of your older looks. Would you ever do like a recreating your like teenage looks, but even like modernizing them or how you do them now or
That's
something?
that's a really good idea. I think I just would do that. I feel like they're just so bad, but I think I would do that.
Because I don't even
Yeah.
want to put those pictures out on the internet again. Like, no.
Yeah. If I know it's gonna come back to me and people are gonna be like, "Is this you?" I'm gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, it is." But I think it's better when you do it instead of someone else being like, "Okay."
Do you find like your own makeup style has evolved a lot over the years from creating content, or do you think it's just maturity, it changes anyway, or do you think actually like the doing all like the hacks and trends and stuff has kind of influenced how you use makeup?
I think I do see the trend where everyone's like, oh, 2016 eyebrows and stuff like that. But I genuinely do love like a thick eyebrow. I don't think in terms of like trends, I used to hate the clean girl trend like so much. But like the more I go into it, I'm like, oh, it's just glowy skin. And like when you break it down, it's just different types of makeup. Um, but I do think it's changed in terms of like how I do makeup because I used to be very simplistic. And then now I'm kind of like, oh, just doing an eyeshadow look for me just feels wasteful. But I know that like some people love soft glam, some people love doing like the very simple looks. But I just love like full on makeup. So I think it just depends on like the mood or what kind of video I'm doing. But I do think it's definitely changed in terms of like, yeah, I don't do the 2016 eyebrows all the time. I guess that's the only thing that's kind of changed.
I do love your like more like I guess like editorial creative looks. They're like they're my
Mhm.
favorite ones you do when you're like fully
Thank
going
you.
for it and stuff. They're like you're
Yeah.
like because I feel like as well the way you do it makes it feels really achievable. And I mean that as like a really confident
Mhm.
way because sometimes you see people
Yeah.
doing them and you're like, I never in a million years would ever even dream or think of being able to do that.
Yeah.
But the way you do it is in
Mhm.
such an approachable way, I think, which makes it means it I find you get that creativity more because it ends up being more inspiring rather than just being like, oh, that's something I could never do. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I do try. In terms of like trying to break down the steps, I think that's why I kind of enjoy doing like like a little bit of a longer form video, like 1 minute, instead of like a 60 second, that is the same time, 40 second or 30 second video, because like, I don't think people can actually grasp like how you do it. And I was the same, especially with sometimes I'd watch YouTube videos that were really long, but like the actual like how to do it wasn't there. It was kind of just like do this, I do this kind of thing. But yeah, I do think like it can be fun doing like a more like breakable down video.
And I also feel like, especially like over recent years and
Mhm.
on TikTok, there's been such a focus on beauty makeup that seeing people do creative makeup that's makeup for fun and makeup that
Mhm.
is different and is out there. It's such a
Mhm.
fresh air on TikTok. And again, in recent years, it's become you're ugly. This is what you can do to be pretty. Kind of very much gone off like old
Yeah.
school beauty standards where it's like
Mhm.
you need to do these three things to be beautiful. That like I thought we'd moved past that in makeup and beauty, where it was about like self-expression and like having fun and doing what makes you feel great. And it was like again on like recently on short form content, it's all about actually fitting in and looking a certain way again. And I feel like your
Mhm.
content really kind of stands out in the sense of being like, no, I'm doing this because it's fun. And it might like if I'm doing this silly hack, it's because it's funny and I'm having fun with it, not because I'm trying to reach a certain beauty standard.
I do see you do see that with the trends as well, like a lot of trends, especially when it was like the clean girl makeup and like what else was there? I think like Pilates princess and stuff like that. The makeup was very much like glow up or look better and things like that. And I think that's why at first I was like, oh, really? But in terms of like now it's like very much I don't know if it's the trend like the Brat summer, like the Charlie XCX like trend that's brought back like people doing like absolutely bright and colourful looks. And yeah, I do think it tips back and forth. Like some it's gonna go back to clean girl aesthetic at some point. Someone's gonna bring it back, especially with like the Hailey Bieber trends and stuff like that. But I think it just depends on what's trending. But I do hope people are not looking at content and like feeling like they have to look a certain way because the whole point of like social media is to find a place that you like. Like you don't have to stick to the For You page if you don't like what's on there. You can change up whatever you're consuming basically.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. It's like that kind of idea of like you, as much as there's an algorithm stuff out there that's inspired by what you like, and you get to dictate
Yeah.
what you see and what the
Mm.
content you interact with. Do
It's
you find
hard.
that like as a Black creator, it's more challenging to like get your content out there, get your content seen, or also and even like some of these trends and stuff, are they like a lot of time, well, are they sometimes so like white Eurocentric that it's actually a bit off-putting and stuff? Like how do you find like as a especially a UK Black creator in the beauty space, how is it like
Mhm.
interacting with it?
I see a hack and it's mainly like a different race doing it. I will feel the need. I'm kind of like, I kind of have to do it. Like, I kind of have to show my followers or anyone else who's like, will this work for my skin type? Will this work for my skin tone? Um, I think it's important for everyone to feel like they should try it. They should look at it. They should, it will work for them. So yeah, I do find it kind of hard to kind of navigate, but at the same time, I do kind of see it as like I've decided to be a makeup artist, so I know that there's a space for me, and there's a space for every single person who decides to do it. And I think it's so cool to see like different skin tones, especially if it's like a trend that's like outlandish. To see different skin tones try it. I remember looking at the was it cold girl makeup in like last Decemberish time, and I was kind of like it's just blush. It's just blush. But trying it on my skin tone does look completely different. I'm trying it with someone with a light skin tone or someone with a completely darker skin tone. And I just find it so fun to be able to scroll and see like three different videos of different skin tones. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I should do that video so that then someone else can see it. I'm like, oh, that will work for my skin tone. I'm gonna try it as well.
And sometimes it's about making it work for your skin tone, right? Because like especially like cold girl makeup, it's all
Yeah.
about that like bright pink baby doll, like
Hmm.
light pink cheek, which isn't going to work on deeper skin tones. It's actually like, no,
Hmm.
here's the kind of blush colors you want to make to get that effect, but
Hmm.
on a deeper skin tone and stuff like that as
Yeah.
well, isn't it? Which annoyingly, a lot of times when those trends blow up, people aren't thinking about it that way, or because of how they're
Yeah.
labeled, it comes across as like such a one like tone. It's actually like, no, there's layers to this, there's nuances to
Hmm.
it and stuff.
Yeah, and I do think it's also good to like when I do those videos to like showing the brands and things like that because a lot of the time struggle is like okay, but what brand actually does colors and kind of products that actually work with my skin tone because I know like there's a lot of brands amazing, but the skin tones colors are just not great, or the blush colors are too light, or they're just kind of make you look very dull. So yeah, I think that's also a good thing because you can explore like different products.
I think that's what like one thing that people talk about more these days. So like I think ever since obviously Fenty did the whole expanding the shade range,
Yeah.
but I think we've now almost moved on that in terms of actually the nuances within those shade ranges as well. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
cool, warm, and that it's
Mm-hmm.
actually thinking about like okay, but there's different especially as the deeper you get, the undertones are different to when they're lighter, and how those like different shades actually work for someone. And I think there's been a lot of black creators being out there being like, I'm not going to mix shades. Like, it's not, I'm not buying two different foundations to have to mix them together
Yeah.
to make a shade that works for me. That shouldn't be the
Mm-hmm.
case anymore. And we're like,
Mm-hmm.
there's at a place now where there's some more like nuances between shade ranges and different shades. So it's like, the deepest shade might become in three different undertones now as well to make things, I guess, slightly easier. It's obviously nowhere near where it should be. And there's still way more that needs to happen. But I think there's
Yeah.
like, it's important to have a variety of content creators with a platform and with a voice like you've got
Yeah.
talking
Mm-hmm.
about like those different ways to talk about because for your experience versus someone else's experience
Yeah.
as darker skinned people it's still going to be very different as well.
Yeah, it's always different as well. And I do think it's the only time that I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like the bigger brands do not have an excuse really, I don't think anymore. But I do think like smaller brands do take in consideration your skin tone more. I think that we've seen that with like Made by Mitchell. Yeah, I think there's been more of a shift to like, okay, because even Made by Mitchell do very like light shades, which I think is amazing because advocating for both. Yeah, I do think the bigger brands don't really have an excuse at this point because they know and they work with models and things like that. So,
My thing is when you go to like the high ends like the Chanel's and the like Dolce & Gabbanas
yeah.
and Tom Fords and you're like where are your shade ranges you've got seven foundations and like you're like what message you're putting out there is what you're saying is people of color don't earn enough money to buy our products. That's what you're saying when you don't even include them in any of your blushes, in your bronzers, in your foundations. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, like you have enough money to be making those shade ranges. Whether they sell loads or not, you should be making them.
Yeah, and they charge like £60 for a foundation, so you've got enough. I do know like the manufacturing of makeup is a lot cheaper than that, so they should be like, especially with Dior and things like that, they should be able to go out and say, oh, like patch test and things like that.
Yeah, you would think if you're a Dior or those higher brands, you would want to be setting a standard. Do you wouldn't
Yeah.
be like the first one to be doing it? Not the first one to make, you shouldn't be the first one in this day and age, but like be setting a
Mhm.
standard so that other brands will follow in your lead and will want to follow in your lead because you're doing the best of the best in that kind of world, right?
I feel like they're just used to kind of people because they're the big brands. They're just used to people kind of fitting in or mixing or whatever people do with their products. But yeah, I think now especially people just stick with Fenty because it's easy and they know that they're going to be able to find a shade match and things like that. But yeah, I would hate to know what it was like before Fenty and things. I don't want to imagine.
I guess that's a good thing. Like there are more brands out there owned by women of color that you have like
Hmm.
Fenty, Pat McGrath's. Like, there are more brands out there who are doing things for people of color. And then even like I'm not sure if it's around anymore, but there's Uma Beauty, which was say, a little bit cheaper and stuff as well.
Mhm.
Like it's annoying that like a lot of these brands are like the mid-range slash luxury brands, and it's like actually where
Yeah.
are the cheaper brands doing it? But I think there are brand like you have the Made by Mitchells who are still trying to cater to an
Yeah.
audience at a lower price point
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame, but I hope like because I know Made by Metro is actually going into like drugstore, which I think that will be helpful. I feel like Fenty is not always in drugstores. I've not really seen it in mine, but yeah, hopefully like that shift into like going into like more mainstream shops will be helpful because I know like online you cannot test your shade through there either. But yeah, I hope positive changes just keep coming through. I do know like there was a lot of content creators that pushed for that to happen. And I just feel like it's just amazing that there's a community that was there before that pushed for these like color ranges to be there because I could not imagine like mixing all these colors now to get my shade match.
Yeah, or having to use like an orange foundation that clearly wasn't your shade, but you just like that's all I have to use. Like
Yeah, yeah.
this Maybelline Dream Matte Mousse that's not my shade at all, but it's the darkest one they do, so I have to make it work. Like,
Mhm.
or only having sleek.
Oh, sleek. Oh, that's memories.
Yeah, right. Like that back in the day, that was the only brand that was like catering in the drugstore that was
Yeah.
catering to like people of color. And even then, like it always had a very small like slither in like boots, but it was the only
Yeah.
brand doing anything.
And it was always like very dry.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember what the first makeup product you ever bought was?
I think it was honestly like a little lip gloss from Makeup Revolution, and I used that lip gloss and kept using it until it was literally gone. From that, I kind of bought and still use to this day because they've gotten a lot better with like. I remember that eyeshadows used to be you could not see them; they were not there. But now I bought a palette and it's just I was like, oh, they've upgraded. I love that for them. And yeah, and it was affordable too. I love that as well.
Brands like Revolution and Elf and stuff like back in the day they were so bad and they've really
Yeah,
stepped up their games now as well.
yeah.
Like
Hmm. Yeah, I do think that was especially Make Revolution and Elf. I do remember buying them and it was kind of just like, oh yeah, they're drugstore, they're kind of easy to use, but I was just like, oh, this is not good. And then there was my sister who would like, because she was working at the time, she was bringing in like the bigger brands, like so, oh, what was it called? I forgot the specific brand, but she had bought it and her eyeshadow, oh, the MAC. It was like a matte eyeshadow with our different eyeshadow palettes, and you could not see mine. Hers was so bright, and mine was just like, oh, it was not good.
I think that's about all we have time for today. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
For having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank you for all those insights. Like, that was a really like really insightful chat, and I really loved like talking to you about your content and your
Thank
makeup and
you.
stuff.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
And thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, a like, leave a comment, and to share it around to any of your friends who you think might be interested in it. We've been doing this for about a year now. It's been a fun time. It's been an ever-changing time. And I really hope you're enjoying listening to these podcasts. And it'd be really great to get your feedback, however you would like to give feedback. But yeah, it was a really amazing chat with Nancè. She is such a lovely content creator. Make sure to give her a follow on all her social media platforms, which will be linked below, and to follow us as well. That's it for this month. Check us back in a month's time for our next episode.